Alright, that's it. I'm about to rant. Whatever I'm going to say is going to be really good, really influential, and I hope that this video really helps you. How do I know this, even though I don't know what I'm going to say yet? Because you're watching this right now, which means the title or whatever I'm about to say is about to be good. So go ahead and stick tuned. I'm about to go for a run, and let's hop into it. I believe in love, even if it wasn't for us. I believe in love. Tell me what comes after love. After us, I think my heart was meant to break this month. Ever after love, tell me that we're happy ever after love. What comes after love? I'm going to talk to you guys really about like what I've been going through lately, because I think it's going to help you. It's going to be really advice that I'm finally giving myself that I think it would help if I gave you, whoever's watching, because you clicked on this video for a reason. So lately, and when I say lately, I mean for the past few months, I've been feeling very comfortable in the life that I lead. Like I've been feeling, I say comfortable, but I wasn't happy. I was just comfortable. I felt like everything that I was going through was familiar. I felt irritated at my position in life and how much money I made and my financial situation and my living situation. And I was insecure about all of those things because I knew I could be better, because I had been better and done better before. And my way of rating myself on how successful or how happy I should be was based on the things that I used to have and be a part of, like my old life, and the fact that my old life wasn't my present life. And I realized that I was just beating myself up and giving myself excuses to stay where I was, because mentally and emotionally and spiritually, because things had changed and things weren't the same anymore. And I wanted, when things were doing great, I wanted them to just stay doing great. When I got every milestone I got. So let me give you guys a backstory. Last year and the year before that, in that span of time between 20 and right now I'm 22. So between that span of time, I got kicked out of my mom's house, got kicked out of my dad's house, moved out of my mom's house alone at the age of 20 into an apartment in the city, was paying rent. I had 2 jobs, and then I quit one of my jobs. I worked at a marketing firm, and then I was in a beautiful relationship. When I moved out, I went through the worst breakup of my life. I met amazing people, really cherished my life, really grew as a person, and understood who I was, and was in probably one of the best conditions I had ever been in terms of my spiritual journey and my journey with myself and my journey with spirit and my alignment with my goals and my future. I was falling in love in healthy ways and releasing my past, and I had a miscarriage. And when I had my miscarriage, I didn't understand why that happened, and I wasn't prepared for something of that magnitude to happen in my life. And I just kind of went back into old habits and old patterns, got depressed, started looking for ways to escape my own life through unhealthy mechanisms that were going to make me feel alive through a sense of danger. And in doing that, met someone else, fell in love with them because they treated me the way I thought I deserved to be treated, which was very not great. But I was like, oh, you treat me how I feel inside. Fell in love with that, trauma bonded, of course. Ended up being a beautiful yet also toxic and abusive relationship. And then that relationship, it ended, and I went back to my mom's house. And so at that point, I was like, every single step I make, quitting my job so I can focus on my mental health, continuing to go to doctor's appointments for as long as I could afford it to make sure that my health was getting back on track. I still have one scheduled. It's been some time, like since that was all last year, but it's been some time. But I have another doctor's appointment scheduled because I want to get back to just making sure that I am in touch, because I'm getting back to the message of this video. But went through all of that, and then I just kind of got comfortable. I was like, okay, that feeling when you are living your life and you get knocked down. I'm not talking about being on the ground, but I'm talking about that moment where you know that you're climbing up. So like there's the moment where you're walking, right, going through life. Maybe you're running, you're on the roller coaster, whatever. And then there's the dip, right? There's the falling into the ditch, the falling on the ground, the tripping, the hitting a wall, or seeing the mountain. And it's like you realize that in order to get out of wherever you are, or to get over the mountain, or get to the next step, or get, past whatever you're going through, you have to like climb. And I got so excited and grateful, which is great, about the little things and the little steps climbing up that mountain, that I just kind of wanted to climb forever. I wanted to keep getting that. I wanted to keep feeling like I'm doing great. And I thought that if I stayed where I was and just kept being grateful about the little step that I took, I wouldn't have to do the scary thing and look over the top of the mountain to see what's next and release again what I've been through. I released what I went through before I fell, in terms of like not trying to hold on to that and not allowing that to be a reason why I feel like I'm not being good enough in my life. And I'm realizing now that it's time for another release, of releasing the fact that, okay, I have climbed this mountain. I'm not there anymore. I'm not in the ditch anymore. If I wanted to open my eyes and see over that ditch, or see what comes next, I could. And I've been so afraid, but now I'm like, okay, I can't just sit here forever. I can't just sit at the top of the ladder of the pool forever. Eventually I have to step out. Eventually I have to, if I'm climbing up the ladder to dive, eventually I have to dive into the water. Otherwise I'll just be staring at it the whole time, wondering why I don't feel fulfilled, why I don't feel like everything I've done is measuring up to anything. So I feel like with what I've already said, you can kind of get a gist of what I'm about to say now. But the first step to getting out of the fog, and I did some videos on what the fog is, like on my TikTok for sure, and I don't know if I posted on YouTube, because YouTube Shorts gives me trouble posting like my shorts sometimes. It just doesn't, it says error all the time. So, but it's definitely on my TikTok. I did a video on the fog and what the fog is. Real quick, the fog is when you reach a point in your life where you feel like you can't see the next step, or you don't know exactly, you may know what's gonna happen next, like you may understand how to get somewhere, but it feels like you're stuck in this momentary pause, this hermit, this temperance, this waiting energy. Like, everything's happening, and even though it is happening, you're feeling a little unsettled, or it can be a little unsettling in that fog, because you can't quite clearly see what is, like, what to feel. It's just kind of this almost dissociative state of feeling like waiting, like you're waiting for something, maybe waiting for excitement, maybe waiting for happiness, maybe waiting to be in the moments that are coming, but it's a little uncomfortable and a little unsettling at times, because it's kind of like, that everything is happening in your life, and you can like think hard about what's happening in your life, but no matter how hard you think about it, there's still delays. So I talked about the fog and what that is, but I think that once there's an awareness for the need to begin on that path, because sometimes that fog happens because there's something that we haven't done ourselves to get out of that fog. Like when you're driving and you hit fog, everyone slows down. Everyone's like, all right, let me slow down. And then, delays because there's fog. You think, I know the road ahead of me. but I see an obstacle, let me slow down, right? But there's nothing else I can do, so let me slow down. But the truth is, if you're in the fog and you have a light, you can see a little better. If you're in the fog and you see a red car, there's a light in front of you, you can follow that light. If you're in the fog, you have one of those blind poles, you can poke the ground, you know? So it's not like, it's kind of like a stretch a little bit, but it's not like there's no way to get through that fog. It's just that you have to be willing to give yourself extra actions so that you're not just in this waiting. But I'm getting past that and back to what this video is. Because I don't even know why I went into that. Someone needed to hear that, and if you need to hear that, drop a heart in the emoji, drop a heart emoji down below. But what I was going to say is, I think the first step is recognizing that what you have gone through leading up to the point of watching this video, what you've gone through, what you're getting through right now, what you're closing right now, is closing. And if you continue to compare your current life or your future life or whatever life you have right now to your past life, then you're always going to be unhappy, because it's always going to be better. Hindsight 2020, it's always going to be better in the past than it is right now, and you'll miss the opportunity to make right now better. Yeah, so the first step is releasing the past and focusing on what is happening right now. The second step, I think, and I'm only going to give you guys 3. I thought about you guys, and I was like, I haven't posted a video. Let me go ahead and put something out there to help somebody. So here I am. Anyway, so the second step after that is, once you realize that everything is in the past, so accept that the past is over and assess and accept where you are now. What does your current life look like? What are all your habits? How do you spend your time? And I also do, shameless plug, is it right here? It is right here. Shameless plug, This is in my book. It's in the 3rd chapter, which my book isn't really in chapters, but if you wanted to call them chapters, it's in the 3rd segment of my book, and then also in the 4th segment of my book. So it's going to be in self-identity. It's also going to be in the heal segment, heal. Yeah. And then from there, yeah, it's mostly in the heal segment, but it starts in the self-identity section of the book. It's called Breathe, Inhale, Exhale, and it is recently published. Right now it's $25. Get it while it's $25, because once I reach 25 copies, it's going to be $30, and then once I reach selling 30 copies after that, it's going to be $50. So definitely want to grab your copy while it is $25. And if you're coming from my channel, if this video reaches 25 likes, I'll put a discount in the drop box below, so you guys can get a little discount. Okay, anyway, back to what I was saying. Assess where you are right now. Where are you right now? What are your habits? What does your day look like? And not what does your day ideally look like. Don't be like, oh, well, right now, you know, okay, so for me, usually, whenever someone says, what does your day look like? I say, well, usually I would start with a cup of tea. But I haven't honestly started my day with a cup of tea in months, because I bought ginger and it tasted bad. It didn't taste fresh. I bought ginger and it didn't taste fresh, so I stopped buying ginger. And because I stopped buying ginger, I stopped waking up in the morning, chopping my ginger, chopping my lemon, and making my tea. So now I start my day off without tea. I used to start my day off tea, go for a run, come back, drink water or make a smoothie or oatmeal, write, and then do whatever I need to do for the day. Now my day looks completely different. So think about not where you want to ideally be, but where you are right now, and why you are where you are right now. When you wake up, what time do you wake up? Why do you wake up at that time? What time do you get out of bed? Why do you get out of that bed at that time? Come in, like, in relation to what time you wake up. If you wake up at 6 and get out of bed at 6, why? If you wake up at 6 and get out of bed at 6:05, why? Or 6:10, why? Or 8, why? If you wake up and make your bed, why? If you wake up and you don't make your bed, why? If you wake up and go for a run, why? What does it do for you? How does it make you feel? What do you think while you're on your run? If you wake up and you don't go on a run, why not? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why do you do everything that you do, and what does that say about you? And why don't you do everything that you want to do, or everything that you don't want to do, and what does that say about you as well? Self-analysis. Okay, post-edit Jaya, I'm just coming in because sometimes I personally do get stuck in this self-analysis mode, analysis paralysis, where I'm like, let me just understand like everything about where I am right now, and I get stuck in that instead of progressing from step 2 to step 3, which I'm going to talk about, where I actually implement the changes. So it is important to understand where you are right now and why you are where you are, but it's also equally important to make sure that you're not going so deep in the present that you're missing out on the chance to be present at the same time and make the most of it and bring in your future. But the first step definitely is to understand where you are right now. Just don't be stuck in that step for too long, because then you'll be in the fog again. LMAO. But yeah, that's it. Back to the video. Just iron yourself out like a piece of paper and get it all out and understand exactly who you are and what you do. And that's also what I'm doing right now. I'll link some of the videos down below that like really help me to understand the importance of going through this, because I knew this and I know this, but sometimes I just get so wrapped up in my own thoughts and my own life that I forget until someone reminds me. So I'll put down some videos downstairs in the description below that may help you as well as this one. Anyway, review your views of the future and then accept the future. Allow the future to come in. The future is every single moment after this moment. So if the future is, because I think sometimes when we're in that fog, or we're in this like, I just want to keep like praising myself for these tiny little steps I'm taking, getting out of this ditch, we think the future is so far away. We think that the future is like, we sometimes, me, myself especially, like included, sometimes we allow ourselves to picture ourselves always at the bottom of that ditch, or at the beginning of that mountain, because if we're not over the mountain, then we're under the mountain. And I think it's important to also give yourself praise for the steps that you take, but also give yourself a frame of reference of what that mountain even is for you. What's the top of the mountain? What does that mean for you? And is that the only mountaintop? Because sometimes the top of the mountain that we picture is like 6 mountains over, and we're at mountain 1. We're thinking that we're gonna take forever to get to that mountain. And yes, we are, because we have more mountains to climb. But the mountain 1, that's the first mountain that we have to get over, we're basically at the top. And if we can just accept that we have to get over this mountain, to get over the next mountain, to get over the next mountain, and it's gonna be beautiful, and that's how life works, then getting to mountain 6 and getting to that goal isn't gonna feel like this big, huge thing. It's gonna feel like, well, I felt like I didn't eat enough fruit, so I bought a watermelon. I felt like I didn't drink enough water, so when I cut my watermelon up, I put some cubes in my water bottle and I put some honey in it. And now I'm drinking watermelon honey water. It tastes good. I thought, this tastes good. This would taste good as a summer drink or a mocktail. I'm gonna get some lemons and some limes and some cucumbers next time I go to the store, and then I'll have a mocktail. And I don't know what I'll put, like soda, I don't know, but like everything doesn't have to be, oh, I don't eat fruit and I don't drink water, but I want to make mocktails. How am I going to get there tomorrow? It can be, okay, well, I went to the store today, I saw a kiwi, I like kiwis. I'm going to go buy a kiwi. Do the little wins. If you listen to the CEOs, the business people, they're always like, take whatever you want to do and break it down into 10 steps and give yourself little victories. That's what they mean when they say that. Like, I'm saying it now as advice to myself and advice to you, because you deserve to hear this, because you deserve to get there. But break it down. I'm eating another one because my throat, because my smoke. But look at the future that you want. What future do you want? And then break it down. It doesn't have to be that big of a mountain. It can be a bunch of little mountains. And then focus on the mountain that you are the most excited about. And I know some people say, like, don't focus on what you're so excited about, focus on the first step. right now, focus on what you're excited about, because if you focus on the first step and the first step is drawing a line 10 times a day, it's kind of hard to be excited about that, you know? Like, that's the first, I say that because that's the first step of being an architect. Architects draw the most beautiful buildings, and like true architects, you know, true artists, they draw the most beautiful buildings. But day one in drawing school, I promise you they were drawing circles on papers and lines, because that's what I had to do. Draw 100 lines until you can draw a straight line. That's it. If you don't want to draw 100 straight lines, draw books. Like, find something that you love to do that you can also tie into what you want your future to do, right? So I tell you guys all the time what I want to do, but I wrote this book, right? I want to speak. I want to go to speaking engagements and speak at schools and speak to students and youth about sexual assault. I want to be able to reach an audience. I want to be able to reach the audience that I was in, that I wish people focused on reaching when I was going through my struggle, because this is who I wrote this book for. So I want to be able to do that. And one of the things that can get me closer to that is community service. I could be volunteering at an animal shelter or at a homeless center, right? I don't have to be out, you know, speaking at, I also could be speaking at like slam poetry events, because I do write poetry, but I don't have to just be like, oh, well, the only way I'm gonna be a speaker is if I email every school in the district and hustle to get there. Like, yes, that makes sense, but also I can start volunteering. I can start putting myself in situations where I'll meet people who can support me in different ways. That gives me the peace and the grounding and also the personal development that I need to continue to push myself towards speaking. And a different example of this, if I wanted to, I want to start painting, right? I get stressed sometimes. When I get stressed and I don't have the patience with myself to pull out paint and rinse off all my paintbrushes and pull out all the paint and, you know, the canvas and everything and sketch it out and figure out what I'm going to draw and go through all that, because it gives me anxiety sometimes, I bought myself a coloring book. I don't know exactly, like, perfectly color theory of paints, but what I do know is colored pencils. I do like Prismacolor. So even though my goal is to paint, my goal is to be an artist one day where I can paint things that I put up on my walls, like Vincent Van Gogh and shit. What I can do right now is color when I'm bored and when I'm stressed. And in coloring, even though it's not something I do all the time, even though it's not something that, you know, it's not a canvas, it's still, this is watercolor and Prisma, it still gets me little by little closer to my goal. And because painting on a canvas isn't the end all be all, and isn't my only goal, and isn't the only thing I want to do with myself, it's okay for me to take my time with that. Because even though that, like what I just said, is definitely something I want to do, because that, as from what I know, I have so many goals, and because that's only one of the goals, I know that as long as I position myself closer and closer to those goals and keep allowing myself to grow outside of my comfort zone, I'm going to eventually get there, and I have faith and trust that I'll eventually get there. So I'm wrapping this video up. Release your past. Recognize the past and release it. Recognize your present and understand it, and then recognize your future. And I'm saying recognize because we shape our future, it's not predetermined. So recognize your future. Hi. Recognize your future. Say hi. Recognize your future and accept it. Allow it to come in. Allow yourself to make steps towards the future that you want to create and are creating and are stepping into, so that you can create it and step into it and accept it. But if you don't accept it, then if you don't recognize it, then you don't have it. It's in the hands of someone else or whoever else is influencing your present. They have your future. Who is influencing your present owns your future. And as long as you influence your present, then you own your future. So recognize what your future looks like right now. If you continue where you are, recognize what your future looks like. Sorry, I feel like I'm rambling. Recognize your future right now, and allow yourself to imagine what it looks like, and then accept that. And don't give yourself any excuses not to do anything that is a stepping stone for your future. So if you are writing down what your future looks like, and you're writing down your current habits and what habits you need to get there and what needs to change, and the little steps you can take tomorrow, the little steps you can take today, the little steps you can take right now, honestly, and be patient with yourself and being loving with yourself at the same time, anything that you know you need to do on the way there, do. And if you feel like you can't do it right now, do what you can do right now, and then get back to what you thought you couldn't do before and do that too. And I have enough faith in myself now to take the steps necessary to take a leap of faith and know and understand and trust that the universe is going to catch me as long as I catch myself and don't allow myself to give up. All right, hit the deuces, chucking up the deuces. Yeah. Okay. Bye.